Okay, this video will be on the H&K P7 9mm semi-automatic handgun. I did one a while back, several months ago, but it was done out at the gun club. Didn't go into much detail. This video will go into more detail. H&K stands for Heckler Koch, and it was made in Germany. This particular one was made in 1986. Okay, this one and many like it were sold to and used by the State Police of Lower Saxony, Niedersachsen in German, and they were traded back to H&K a couple years ago for more modern USB type pistols. Okay, first thing we'll do with this one is, before we go into detail, is verify it's unloaded. Do that by the magazine releases down here by the base of the magazine. Press that in, releases the magazine. Make sure the chamber is empty. Okay, it's got sort of a black type, smooth black finish on the metal. The grip panels are black plastic and they're textured. You can see the grain in there. You know, to give so your hand doesn't slip if it's, you know, wet or sweaty or whatever. It's got 3-dot sights on it. You can see them there in the video. A dot on each side of the notch back here, and a dot on the front side. You line those 3 dots up on the target. One of the unique things about the P7 series is the cocking mechanism. Most handguns have a hammer. This doesn't have a hammer. It's got a squeeze cocker, and that would be the front strap pivots backwards, as you can see, and that's what cocks it. So what you do is once you're loaded up and you have a rounded chamber, you squeeze that and hold it back, and it stays cocked, and you can just keep on firing it as long as you've got that held back. I mean, you don't have to. It doesn't call for you to release it and, you know, reset each time you fire. You know, once you're loaded up and you got a rounded chamber, you squeeze that, and you just keep firing it until it either, you know, runs out of ammunition or you release the squeeze cocker. It doesn't call for a lot of pressure. I mean, you can squeeze it with one hand, one finger. And once you get it back there, it stays, you know, it stays back pretty easily. You know, it only takes a few ounces of pressure, and you release it. So it takes a moderate pressure to cock it, and a very light pressure to hold it in place. And that's your cocking mechanism. And also, there's you see the striker protrudes out the back when it's cocked. So that's how that works. The other unique feature on this is the locking mechanism. Okay, handguns of a serious caliber must be locked closed when they're fired, you know, for a small fraction of a second. Most handguns have the barrel and slide are locked together for the first fraction of an inch of travel, you know, while the bullet's going down the barrel, and that gives it time for, you know, for the pressure in the barrel to lower. Because if it weren't for that locking mechanism, you know, you'd have a lot of pieces of brass and hot gases blowing at a very high, you know, pressure out the side here. So what that locking mechanism does on handguns is gives the pressure an opportunity to drop to a safe level. This one does not use that. I will, just a second here, I will field strip it. To field strip it, you push this button on the side right behind the grip panel and underneath the slide. You push that in, pull back, lift upward, and the recoil spring wraps around the barrel. Take it off and go in either direction, doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong way to do that. There's the slide. To go back to the locking mechanism, this is gas locked. There's a port in the barrel at the bottom of the barrel, right forward the chamber, right about there. There's a port that goes down into a cylinder, and in that cylinder is where this piston goes. The piston is attached to the front of the slide and it pivots there. Okay, and it's got little rings on here like the piston rings in a car engine. And what that does, the pressure in this cylinder pushes this piston forward, which holds the slide forward, and that's your locking mechanism. It's kind of like like an M14 or an FN FAL, except it's in reverse. And on those guns, the gas pressure cycles the slide. In this case, on the P7, it holds the slide shut momentarily while your pressure drops in the barrel. So that's how that works. Also, while I've got it apart, I'll show you the barrel Again, it's a fixed barrel. It doesn't come off there. You can, but it's, you know, it takes a gunsmith to do that. It's fixed. It's pretty much fixed in place. The rifling has polygonal rifling, or hexagonal rifling as they call it, meaning it's not square. The rifling notches, the rifling grooves aren't squared, they're rounded. Has sort of like a wavy pattern, you know, but it's in a twisted circle. I think a better way to describe it. And just picture rounded rifling. That's the best way to do it. You may be able to see it. I can hold it just right, so it'd probably be hard to see. Also, the chamber is fluted. The flutes go from the rifling right back into the chamber, and that helps facilitate ejection and extraction and ejection of the empty round. I've been told that you can remove the extractor from one of these and it will still eject the empty without that in place, just for the gas pressure alone. And also, like I was talking about before, about the squeeze cocker, well, when you squeeze it, you see that little the part there slides back, and there's also a corresponding tab on your striker inside the slide here. Okay. And we'll put it back together. Put the spring over the barrel. You got to kind of line this little also the gas piston in here and the gas cylinder need to be cleaned once in a while, otherwise they'll jam. Every 500 rounds maybe you need to clean the gas cylinder out, because it gets a lot of crud build up in there. So we'll put it back together. You got to kind of line the little piston up there. It slides right on. Just push it back down again, back on the track. And that's it. Now it's back together again. Okay, another thing I want to discuss here. I bought this holster for it. The holster came separately. I bought it from another vendor on the internet. I forget which one. But this is the holster. The German police holster for this gun is this one. I think there were a few other models, but this is one of them that was used. And it's got the extended type. It's the extended type holster where there's your belt loop, so it sort of hangs low. So it's near where your hand would normally be, if you're walking or whatever. Also, you can remove this extender here, pushing down this little tab. There's a little silver tab there. You push it down, it slides, breaks right off of there. There's a slot for that. And there's the that post there. That's what goes into this slot. And you can use this as a holster this way too, because you still got your belt loop there. Usually when I go to the gun club and I'm shooting this and I want to keep it in a holster, I take this off and have it like that on my belt loop. And I'll put the gun in there. You can see what it looks like. Kind of weird in that it has two snaps. I have no idea why it's like this, because it's really a pain in the butt to get it loose. If you want to break it loose, you have to this snap. Then this other snap, which goes in the opposite direction, which is really a pain to get loose. So usually I just keep that one snapped. I have no idea what the rationale was for having two snaps in that configuration on that gun. I mean, you'd get yourself shot full of holes just trying to get your own pistol out, if you needed it in an emergency. So as you can see, it's a good snug fit. And this is a very well-made holster too. It's got good heavy-duty leather in there. It would probably, I think I paid like $20 for it, and it would cost probably a lot more if you were to make these now, if anybody would even want to. I didn't buy this holster for practical purposes. I bought it just because it's authentic to the gun. And we'll put the extender back on there. It also swivels, so I guess that's if you're in a patrol car and you sit down, your gun's not, it isn't digging into the seat there and making you uncomfortable. It'll swivel like that, and you can snap it back in place so it does not swivel. So that's the holster. We've talked about that. We've talked about the gun. Pretty neat pistol. I bought it, not so much for practical purposes, but just as a range gun. So that concludes this video on the H&K P7 9mm.